From Washington, D.C. to the heart of America, welcome to Mark Alford's America. I'm the freshman congressman from Missouri, Mark Alford. I believe in America. I believe in you. And most importantly, I believe our greatest days are ahead. Each week, we're going to take you behind the scenes to share the stories, the news, legislation, and to meet the great folks here helping shape our great nation. One of those lawmakers is my friend, a new friend, Derrick Van Orden, a former Navy SEAL and actor who's been in 3 movies. An author. We'll get into his book a little bit later in our second segment. He is the self-proclaimed Cheese King. He's a congressman from the 3rd District of the great state of Wisconsin. My neighbor on the 5th floor of Longworth Office Building, Mr. Derrick Van Orden.
One person claps. Hey, let me be really clear here, buddy.
Yes.
I'm not the self-proclaimed Cheese King.
Who proclaimed you
G.T. Thompson,
Oh,
the
did he
chairman of
really?
the Agriculture Committee, recognized the distinguished gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Van Orden, that's me, and I don't ever speak about myself in the third person, but this is GT, I'm quoting him. The self-proclaimed, which he said,
The Cheese King.
Cheese King of Congress. However, he backed it up and he said, without objection, no one objected, so ordered.
So you're in the congressional record as the
The
Cheese
chairman of the Agriculture Committee spoke into the congressional record that I'm the Cheese King
How
of
much
Congress.
cheese do y'all make in Wisconsin?
Oh my gosh. So Wisconsin is the country's largest producer of cheese. We produce 1 billion, with a B, pounds of cheese more than the next state, and that's California.
Really?
Yeah. You know what's fascinating also? We're the world's largest producer of cranberries. We produce 40% of the world's cranberries. And there's this young guy, I'm a Republican, let's be honest, right? So I walk up to this dude from Massachusetts. He's a Democrat. Never talked to him before because I do things like this. And you guys don't know me, but Mark does. He's my buddy. I walk up to him, I got a problem with you, man. And he's like, what? And I go, Wisconsin produces the world's most amount of cranberries. And ocean spray cranberries are grown in my district, and you guys just have good marketing.
I did not know that.
Well, now
Wow.
you do, Mr. Alford.
Derrick, in case you know, Derrick and I walked to votes a lot. We walked today, walked up the steps, and we're walking up the steps to the Capitol. And he's going this weekend to chair the state committee.
Republican convention for the state of
convention.
Wisconsin. That's right. I'll be the
And
chairman.
he invited a prominent Democrat who we will not know to come go with him to the
Sure
Republican
did.
convention.
Hey, listen, man.
You love to freak people out, don't you?
Well,
Throw them off guard.
this is what I like to do. I like to be consistent. And I am
Consistently inconsistent.
Well,
Keep
no.
people guessing.
Being courteous is not going out of style, my friend. It is not. And we should be courteous to everybody around us. And it's in that book, too.
We'll talk about it in the
Yeah,
second
you should be very polite to somebody even before you're trying to kill them.
Before we took votes, we also met some FFA students who were actually from Missouri.
That's right.
On Independence Avenue, we stopped and talked with them. And when we left, you said that's what it's all about. It's about these 2-minute increments in life.
Right.
Explain that.
Yeah, so if you can subdivide your time into like 2-minute increments, so there's 13 or 14 FFA students and 2 of their teachers that were there that we ran into right on the corner of Independence Avenue. And we stopped to talk to them. I said, where are you from? He said, Missouri. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm from Missouri. So you and me, 2 elected congressmen representing, 1.5 million people between the 2 of us, stopped to talk to them. You signed a copy of the Constitution. I signed a copy of their Constitution. And those young people will never forget that.
Yeah.
And that took 2 minutes out of our life.
That's pretty awesome to think. I mean, every time I fly in and I see the Capitol or the Pentagon, I still can't believe I'm here. I can't believe that 750,000 people are entrusting me. I mean, this is not our office. You know that.
Right.
We've got our name on the plaque outside. I wish it just said the 4th District, for your case, the 3rd District, because someone was here before me. Someone will be here after us, Derrick. How does it make you feel being in Congress?
Well, like I said, being consistent means telling the truth and doing that all the time. So I won by 3.8%. So 750,000 people didn't send me here, let's be honest. That's who I'm representing.
Yeah, but you still represent
Oh,
everyone.
100%. Listen, man, the first 20 meetings I did after I got elected were with all the people that tried to get me not elected. I went to every single Democrat town board chairman, mayors, councilmen, and women, political figures, and I spoke to them and I said, look, I brought my staff with me in the district, and I said, I know you didn't want me to be in this office, but I am. You know what I mean? Rocks are heavy, trees are made of wood, gravity's real, we landed on the moon, Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy. These are facts. And I wanted them to know, for me personally, looking across the table from them, that I will represent them as seriously as I do everybody that voted for me and walked in parades for me. And we have to get back to that place, Mark.
Yeah.
And you're at that place, which I think is fantastic. And we're from remarkably different districts.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
Big red district, you are.
I'm like an R24.
Yeah, I won by 3.8%.
But I represent I tell
I know
people,
you
we
do.
open our office every Monday. I want people to, if you've got a problem on Facebook, if you're going to complain, if you're going to call me names, come down, let's talk face to face.
Face to face, right?
I mean, how are we going to work things out in America if we can't listen to each other, try to understand each other, reflect what we're saying, and try to reach some understanding, at least in America?
There's a reason that I'm sitting here with you today, and it's out of profound personal respect for you.
Well, thank you.
And oh man, come on. At some point, we have forgotten in America how to talk to people we disagree with.
Yeah.
And if you can't
we're
talk to
facing
someone,
that in our conference right now.
we are. But so we just have to talk to folks and understand their perspective. There is a Democrat in the House here whose dad is a ludicrously famous former presidential candidate, and he's a really good friend of mine. His first name is John.
Last name Jackson. I ride the elevator with him. I've invited to our ag listening tour at Sedalia on August 14th.
So John Jackson and I, we are simpatico on a personal level.
Right.
We cannot be farther apart politically.
Exactly.
But John came over to my office 3 weeks ago, and we sat down for 2 hours. He's had 15 of his constituents shot on average every weekend.
Wow.
So he wanted to talk about gun control. And I said, John, hey, look, man, here's where I'm at. You either believe that our rights are given to us by God and they're articulated in the Constitution, meaning that they're immutable. You either believe that or you don't. So you can't have a cooling off period or a waiting period on something that's immutable by definition. You can't do that. The real issue that you're having in Chicago and some of these other places is that you have young men that don't have fathers in their homes. You have young men that aren't educated, that can't read, that are on drugs, that are unemployed. And it's biblical, man. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. And that's true. But the problem is that's really hard to fix. It's hard to fix that. Hey, if you're having children, you need to take care of them. How do you legislate that? It's easier, it's the easy button, to say we're going to take away this inanimate object, which is a weapon. I'm a retired Navy SEAL, dude. And I've grown up with guns my whole life, from a kid. And then I've responsibly used firearms in combat my entire adult life. So
I want to tell you
go ahead, sorry.
The kind of guy that Derrick is. So he sleeps in his office. He's got a fold-out bed. I sometimes sleep in mine, probably about half the time. But at night, sometimes I'll go over and have a talk with Derrick. I walked in the other night, and the two cleaning guys who clean my office as well, and I'm very friendly too, they're sitting down in the lounge chairs there with you, and you guys are talking about something very deep, and it was a cool moment.
You know what, man? One of the guys' name is Derrick. The other one's John.
Yeah.
And if you really want to see me mad, you treat another human being like furniture around me.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a bad damn day. That's honest. So these guys come around, and they clean my office and yours, and they should be appreciated. Derrick was here. He was telling me about he went back down to Georgia. That's where his family's from, with his mom. Drove her down there. And I said, what is she doing now? She's retired and whatnot. And he's worried because he had to duck bullets. So
wow.
here's a young man who's with his ma who's got to duck bullets. So I just took a moment. Remember the 2-minute thing we talked about?
Yeah.
I took a moment. I pulled out some of my stationery, and I wrote Derrick's mom a letter. And I said, ma'am, thank you so much for raising such a good young man. And he takes care of us.
On
and he's doing a
congressional
good
letterhead.
job. On congressional letterhead, and I sent it to his mom. And then I saw him. I handed it to him. I saw him the next day, and he was apoplectic. He could not speak. And because he was like, why would you do that? And I go, because I mean that. I really mean
Everyone has value.
They do. They do. And it's so easy to say no. And it's so easy to see ugliness in people. It really is. Sometimes it's really hard to see beauty. But when you see beauty, you appreciate it. And so I've chosen to live my life looking for beauty. And doing this job is very hard. Legislating's hard. I took votes that, you don't agree with, and a lot of my friends don't agree with. A lot of people I represent don't agree with. But I do them very thoughtfully. I read every single line of every piece of legislation that I've ever voted on. All of it. Now, when I have questions, I ask my staff, then I go to committee staffs, I get answers, or I don't vote for it.
That's one reason why I appreciate you. You're just thoughtful, you're intelligent, but you also love people and you love our nation. And we're going to talk about America when we come back. And we're going to talk about your book, To Help Young Boys Become a Man.
That's right.
I can't wait to delve into that. You're listening to Mark Alford's America. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone, to Mark Alford's America, where we give you a behind-the-scenes look each week at Washington. Let you meet some of the great folks helping shape our great nation. Derrick Van Orden is a freshman congressman from Wisconsin, the proclaimed Cheese King by our Ag Committee Chairman, Mr. G.T. Thompson, author of a book of Man, a Navy SEAL's Guide to the Lost Art of Manhood. You wrote this back in 2015?
I did, and it's not a book of man, it is the book of man.
The Book of Man.
It is.
Actually, it doesn't have a determinative there. It just says Book of Man.
Right. Okay, sorry.
Book of Man, a Navy SEAL's
don't know.
Guide to the Lost Art of Manhood.
Yeah, man. Hey, so, I'm a father and a grandfather, and this book, actually, it was 1995, I think, is when I got the idea to write this book. I was at SEAL Team 4, and we went down to Pichidungi, Chile, which is right on the coast there. And we hiked up a mountain. It was fun. We had the story's in that book, but we had the weekend off, and so we pack a bunch of like cheese and wine and stuff in rucksacks. As SEALs, we hump up this mountain, and I did 8 platoons. I was a intelligence representative and the corpsman, the medical guy. So I've got a camera, and all these guys, we get up to the top of this thing. We go above the cloud line, and it's cold, man. They should call it Chile, not Chile, because it's cold, right? And so I go, I'm going to go take some pictures. There's actually a picture in there that I took of this little baby goat, mountain goat that I found. Anyway,
there's lots of pictures of you
great
here
pictures.
with hair and...
Yeah, when I had hair. Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Because we're on the radio. People can't see I'm bald. This is the one thing I can do where people think I'm attractive.
Imagine Mr. Clean.
So I go off to take pictures, right? And they're like, we're cold. And I go start a fire. So I come walking back, like half an hour later, and there's all these active duty Navy SEALs standing around, and they're looking at their feet. And I'm a dad. So when someone's standing up, they're looking at their feet. What did they do? Something wrong.
Right.
Or something they should have. They didn't do something they should have, right? They didn't know how to start a fire because it was damp. Right? So I'm like, are you kidding me, guys? So I peel off the top layer of the leaves, get some dry kindling, start a fire. And it occurred to me that they're city slickers. And they don't teach you how to start fires and butts. They teach you how to blow stuff up and shoot people. But you don't start a campfire. So, it's not a skill that's taught anymore. But I grew up in abject rural poverty, and I learned how to start a fire because we used to do stuff out in the woods, right? I'd stay out there.
How to sharpen knives.
What's the difference between a pistol, a rifle, a shotgun?
How to punch.
How to punch somebody. That's in there. It's a very important fact. Damien is my cousin. His earliest memory, this is what's weird, man. His earliest memory is him being picked on by somebody in a pool and me clocking that dude in the pool, protecting my cousin. And that's in that book. That's his earliest memory. And I probably would have been 8 then, is protecting my family. So I don't put on airs, dude. This is who I am, and I did, this is...
I don't want to cross you. You also, this is like a practical, something you would probably see back in the 1950s of how to go from a boy to a man. Have we lost that in America, the sense of manhood and what it means to be a man? Talk about that.
Well, listen, man. We are distinctly different biologically. And there's all this stuff, that's going around. And it's just not accurate. When an archaeologist digs up skeletons, they say that's a man and that's a woman. That's it. There's nothing in between. And that's science. That's real science. And I understand, Chris Beck was the first transgender Navy SEAL. I worked with him for 20 years. And then he, he decided that he was transgender, and now he has come back to being a guy, So there's something there. Chris took real heavies. I don't know what that is, Mark, and I don't have to. I know that there's something there. And what it is really it's something that I choose not to focus on. I respect people's decisions as adults. I
Still
do.
value them as human beings.
100%, dude. 100%. But so being a man, we are the archetype of protectors, and that's what we do. And I think that's important, that you have two folks that get together and we have families and we protect them.
We need protection for our nation, too.
Yeah.
We're at a critical point in our nation's history, the pacing threat from communist China, this crazy Putin guy who's decided he wanted to become a czar again, basically. We only have 9% of America's young people now who have any interest in joining the military.
That's right.
That's scary.
We have less than 1% of Americans are in the military. Less than 1% of the military are Navy SEALs.
How do we get young people inspired again to believe in America?
Tell them the truth.
And what is that?
That America's awesome. I'll tell you what. One of my friends, she works for Fox Business. Her name's Kennedy. Have you heard of her?
I know her.
Okay, great. Well, so we've been friends for, 35, 40 years, something like that. Her daughter's in high school, and they were coming to tour the Capitol. And they had like 50 of them, 60, I don't know, a bunch of kids. And I walked them around, and they're from Manhattan. It was so fun. I got them in the rotunda, which is where, people lie in state and all that. And I look up top, and I say, what does that say? It says, e pluribus unum, out of many one. And I said, look at your classmates now. You have black kids, Puerto Rican kids, Japanese kids, Filipino kids, white kids. Everybody, I go, look at you. Look at you. Out of many one. You're all Americans. That's why they wrote that on the top of the rotunda. It's the sacred place of our country. And they looked around and they're like, oh my gosh. I go, that's what that means. And people are going to sell you a bill of goods you don't want to buy, dude. That America is not this and it's not that. I've lived on 5 continents. I've had over 50 of my friends killed in training and combat. I've had 21, as with Mike Day, of my friends commit suicide. I am 53 years old. This is the most exceptional nation that has ever existed in the world, and I've seen it with my own eyes. It's not something I read in a book or on TV or anything. I've seen it. I've lived everywhere. I've fought with people everywhere. I've motivated 18-year-olds to follow me in combat,
What
to
makes
protect
America
their nation.
exceptional?
You, Mark.
No.
Yes. And the people
The individual you're talking about.
I'm talking about you, man. And I'm talking about the people listening to the show. They make America exceptional. And I have a staff of folks. I have 6 here and 11 in the district. And you can surround yourself with excellence, but they'll never exceed unless you allow them to be excellent. Surround yourself with excellence and allow them to be excellent. I told them the other day, it was a couple months ago. I think there's some foible in scheduling or something. I got them all together, and I said, I'm gonna show you something that you've never seen before, and I'm gonna make you into something that you couldn't possibly be, because you've never experienced it before, and that's greatness. I've seen greatness, the greatness of the human condition. People that have sacrificed their lives. They write about it in the Bible. I've seen that. Directly. And my young people that work for me, they're going to be great, but you got to show it to them.
When you leave this office, at whatever point that may be.
I don't know. It could be an hour and a half from now.
Yeah, it could be. Who knows? God knows. But
yeah.
What will you have wanted to accomplish?
If I can prevent one veteran from killing themselves, if I can help save one American's lives, like that railroad thing I put in.
Right.
Safety inspectors, not Fox News. No one cares about it. I do.
The Rail Safety Act.
Rail Safety Act, man. You save one human life, all of your time is worth it. Every human life is a gift from God and should be cherished. And I've been around death my whole adult life, so I know what I'm talking about. And if I get that done, all of this time is worth it. All of it.
Well, Derrick, thank you. God bless you.
And you.
I'm I'm blessed to be your friend. Love you, brother,
I love you too.
look forward to many years with you in Congress if the God and voters want us here. Hey, thanks for joining us for Mark Alford's America. We're going to talk again next week. Until then, remember that I believe in you, folks. I believe our best days are still ahead of us. I believe in America, the greatest nation ever. God bless Missouri. God bless the United States of America. Have a good one.